We talk a lot about how to remove and get rid of algae in this hobby, but what about actually preventing it in the first place? Well, today I got a special video for you guys because I'm gonna give you my top 5 tips that I have learned over the last 7 years of being an aquascaper for preventing algae from getting in your tank in the first place. So let's dive in. Coming in at number 5, use pre-cycled filter media. So one of the biggest causes for algae in a new aquarium is the fact that your aquarium is not yet cycled. And if you're using aqua soil, it's releasing a bunch of ammonia, your fish are releasing ammonia, your new plants, if they're melting, they're releasing ammonia, and you don't have any bacteria to break that down into nitrate and get rid of it. So it's really the recipe for a disaster, and algae is gonna quickly come in and take over. Because remember, algae is opportunistic. It sees conditions it wants, and it takes over your tank. So use pre-cycled media. If you have multiple tanks running in your home, go ahead and transfer some of that media from the old filter into the new filter. If you don't have any pre-existing tanks, head on over to your local fish store or ask another hobbyist if you can use a little filtered media. That'll help you seed your tank and start you off with the right conditions. Coming in at number 4, run medium to low lighting. So you've probably heard this before, but the lighting for your aquarium is the gas pedal of your tank. And so many of us are tempted to really ramp up the light so we get fast results. But that is a terrible idea if you're just starting out with a new tank. I cannot recommend enough starting the lighting at a medium to low level, waiting several weeks to several months for things to stabilize and look great, and then slowly ramping it up and seeing how much you can push it. So if you go with any of the major brands of aquarium lighting, they're pretty much going to be optimized to grow plants well. So you don't have to stress about the intensity as much. Buy a dimmer if the light doesn't have a built-in dimmer and start it off at 50 to 70%, wait 4 to 6 weeks, and then increase it little by little if you even feel the desire to. But stability is a good thing in this hobby, and stability is what's going to prevent algae from taking over your tank. Coming in at number 3, run a high oxygen environment. Oxygen is so key because algae and the bad bacteria love anaerobic conditions. But how do you actually get oxygen into your tank? Well, there are a few easy ways to do it, and then there's some expensive ways to do it. So the ways I recommend are just, if you have lily pipes, lifting the outlet up a little bit and providing additional surface tension. That's gonna promote gas exchange, additional CO2 is gonna leave the tank, and additional oxygen is gonna enter the tank. A more expensive way of doing this is by purchasing a TWINSTAR sterilizer. So these things are sort of marketed as an algae inhibitor, but really all they're doing is creating oxygen via electrolysis. So they're splitting water into its components, one of which is oxygen, and that's kind of adding some oxygen to the tank which circulates. So high oxygen is gonna give you a really nice safety net, allow you to run CO2 really high, which is going to allow your plants to thrive, and it's going to prevent algae from taking over in the first place. High oxygen. Coming in at number 2, run a huge filter. You cannot overfilter a tank. One more time for the folks in the back. You cannot overfilter a tank. You can have too much flow in your tank, but nowadays filters usually come with adjustable flow. So I run enormous filters on all of my tanks, and it's extremely beneficial because it allows me to house a ton of biomedia for beneficial bacteria. And if you can have a ton of beneficial bacteria working for your tank, they're gonna convert waste organics into something safe, which is gonna prevent ammonia from building up, which is gonna prevent algae from taking hold. So don't be afraid to get a huge external filter for your nano tank, juice it up with a ton of biomedia, and you're gonna really set yourself up for success. And finally, my number 1 tip is to do more frequent, smaller water changes. Instead of doing one 50% water change per week, I do 2 20 to 30% water changes per week that I spread out. Not only does this stress your plants and your livestock less, it gets you in the tank more often. So you're gonna be more observant, you're gonna be doing more spot removal of problem areas. And I find that this more frequent, smaller maintenance regime just is more preventative from having bad things take over. So you have to have a lifestyle that allows for it, but once it's incorporated in your your maintenance regime, you'll never go back to that once a week large water change, and it allows you to keep more delicate species like beautiful Caridean shrimp. So I hope that helps. If you like these tips, go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel, but most importantly, let me know down below in the comments what your #1 tip is for preventing, not removing, preventing algae from taking hold in your tank in the first place. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.